Welcome to Baseball Blueprint, your home for all things player development.
Hey, what's up, guys? So this is the product from the new improved code, but I wanted to add the gate overlays, and I've done a video like this before, but I wanted it to be a little bit more automatic, a little bit more accurate on the gate crossing. Now, I'm struggling to kind of address perspective because most of the videos I have are older, so I'm not really able to calibrate on screen exact depth from where the camera is versus where the player is. So that's going to have an impact on the angle of these gates. So I just went straight vertical with these, but it's better than nothing. So here's how you track it. So the end result's pretty awesome, super easy to understand and digest. But as we track it, I've got the frame rate slowed down really far. So I can make sure I am right on contact and I'm right on landing. And again, the quality of the camera is going to be a factor here, as well as just the distance that you're away. So this is just off an iPhone camera. So again, there's room for error here, but for our purposes at our facility, this works just fine. And you can see we've got our motion capture just by the click. And again, it's going really slow because I want to make sure I get every piece of this and make sure I don't miss. Now I can always rewind it. I have a redo button. And again, all of this information will get exported, just like the previous video you've seen of our defenders. But what we added in this version is right as we see contact, it calibrates our center of mass and it overlays gates 5 feet to each side of that center of mass. And then it tracks the center of mass as the player moves to see how fast that center of mass crosses each gate. And that gives us a quote-unquote gate time, and that allows us to understand, like, just where are we more explosive? Are we landing earlier and then getting to the gate later? So that's not going to work, so let's address that. And you can also use this to test different ball flights too, which is cool. But one of the things that I've been really looking forward to testing on this that I'll probably get into soon is trying to understand our angles. So the other thing we've added here are kinematics, which you'll see those in a little bit. But right as foot strike is initiated, so for contact and foot strike, I'm just using the C and F buttons on my computer. But right when I click F to initiate the foot strike of the player, all of the data from the frame of the player when it comes to the angles that they're at, how much their directional foot has retracted from a comparison to their plant foot, identifies which foot the plant foot is, which foot the retraction foot is, and the directional foot is. So it's really cool. But I think I need some more time to kind of digest it, and that way I can, because to be honest with you, I'm getting numbers and I'm getting angles, but I'm not at the point where I'm able to just say, hey, this is really good, this is really bad. I don't have a range for that. And I think if we're just trying to evaluate range, period, it becomes a little bit of an issue because it's what kind of range are we looking for? The movement we make to accelerate and cover a larger expanse of ground is a much more different shape than something where, like, I'm trying to take care of my near extremities where I just have to get low, right? It's a much different shape. Think like, I guess a good example might be diving back into first base versus taking off towards second. Right, we take a directional drop step move to take off forward to second because we're projecting up and outward to create, acceleration, really good shapes to get to higher speeds. But to get back to the base, we don't take a directional drop step. We're planted and we rotate over our hip. So finding ways to maybe identify the type of ball being struck and how that individual prep step interacts with that ball is probably really important. And also trying to identify more common ball flights. That way we can get a better idea of what we need to be teaching just from the rip, because again, we don't know what we're getting. So that's probably the next step. That, and also, like, the movement tracking is really good, but I'd love to be able to take the motion capture and use that to overlay the gates. So these gates are set up at 5 feet from the mid-mass of the player, but the problem is I think the perspective is going to change based on the camera. I'm not recording it from the same distance every time I go out there. I hadn't for these previous videos. This video is almost a year old, but trying to find a way where I can take my older videos where I didn't have a distance calibrated from the defender and still be able to accurately lay these gates out at 5 feet. And then hopefully start to angle these gates a little bit more towards where it kind of nullifies a bit of this perspective change. That way it's a little bit more true of a gate time. But again, for now, this is plenty solid. It's just something to work forward to and continue to try to develop a little bit. But one of the cool things that I like seeing with this angle is like you can really see the feet turn. You can see the plant foot and directional foot. That one plant foot was right, directional foot was left. That landing time was really early. But again, sometimes it's kind of hard here too. This is before I started having my players mirror the baselines as opposed to the batter. So we're still square with the batter here. Once you have the players start to mirror the baselines and cover that kind of ground where it's not perpendicular to the ball coming at you, it's more matching the field and the rest of the defense, that solves problems from a video standpoint, to be honest, because then if you're videoing it correctly, you're square with, you'd be perpendicular with the hips of the defender, but the ball being fired would be off center, so you'd be able to see every launch off of the machine or off the bat a little bit more clearly than what we're getting here, because a lot of the times the player's frame is in the way. Because again, the ground that he's covering is perpendicular to the ball being struck. So we have to find ways to, I guess, for me, I just need to create a little bit more consistent of an algorithm to where I'd love this to be automated. I don't think you could do that in a space, especially where you're working with, like this guy's a freshman in college, guys who are learning this stuff, where a lot of these prep steps might be happening right as the ball's being fired or right as the ball's being struck. The way the algorithm works right now is it detects when the foot, like the motion of the foot stops, and they count that as planting because they assume the player's in the air when the ball's being fired. But a lot of times the players aren't. It's just like, even like a guy like Nico Horner, sometimes he's on the ground and just about to start his prep step when it's getting fired. But oftentimes he's not late. It's just he has a really quick move for his prep step. So trying to find ways to nullify that is tough. So if you guys have any ideas on that, and let me know. But yeah, so this whole process, this is just a flagging process, and it's a little bit cleaner than I would say seconds count. And again, all this data gets exported, so I'll show you what that looks like now. So once I exit out of the program, the recording automatically saves to a file I named recordings. I've also got the CSV of all the data saved, and so it tells you the name of the CSV. This goes to a file. All I got to do is go find the file with the same last 5 numbers. I click it. It'll open up Excel for me and already have something built where I can start to identify like landing times and hip angles and stuff like that. And all these angles, and we got left hip, left knee, right knee, how far the hips are traveling, stuff like that. We can look at which foot's planting, which foot's retracting, how far. And so that's using pixels to kind of measure, which I want to try to adjust. But that's where the body landmarks would be great. It's just a little bit difficult with the tracking software we have. And so you can take different lengths of videos. So for example, this video is pretty quick. This is just like a 1-rep video, and then you can turn it off and you can keep recording more, which is cool. But if you want to see what it looks like for the full length video, it's here. Nothing heavy, but like for how closely we were able to kind of measure everything, when we watch this back, it's really easy to kind of like digest. It's fun to watch too. It's really cool. Our players have really enjoyed kind of taking a look at this and seeing like, okay, well, how am I moving? And you'll notice the gates, even in the recording process, once contact happens, the gates hold. So they'll reset every time based on the center of mass on the player, and they'll be exactly 5 feet off that, which is sweet. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Feel free to check out our base doing infield communities on X as well. Thanks.